one of the primary concerns anyone has when they've been injured at work, when it comes to either filing the workers' comp claim in the first place, or if they're not getting what they're supposed to get under workers' comp, hiring a lawyer to help them, is losing their job. Am I going to be fired? And I very often have that conversation in the very first meeting. And one of the questions I will always ask, if somebody's a long-term employer there, what's been your experience with this employer when you've seen other people making a workers' comp claim? What's happened to them? And if they've been there for a while, they often have an example, especially if it's a big employer, as to things that they've seen, and they might have a better idea than I do, depending on the employer, as to what might happen. Other times it's an employer that I've dealt with plenty of times, and I can at least anecdotally tell them my experience. In other words, well, I've had employees that, with these guys, that they didn't have any problem with letting them come back to work after they got done treating. Even though they'd hired me, there was never an issue. And in other employers, there are a few that I'm going to warn people up front, sometimes it's whether you hire the lawyer or not. If you've made the comp claim, your days are probably numbered. It really is it's a tough thing to talk about. You're going to know probably before you walk in the door whether your job is at risk. Sometimes, again, based on what you've seen happen to others. Sometimes it's based on actual words that you've heard from your boss since you got hurt, or the co-employee that catches you in the hall or after work in the parking lot and says, hey, you better watch your back, I heard they're getting ready to get rid of you. And that happens. And friends that you've worked with will warn you. And, I tell people it's not a good thing to be paranoid in the real regular everyday life, but after you've been hurt at work, you almost have to be a little bit paranoid, and you have to listen when those things happen. When you're being treated differently, it doesn't mean that you behave differently. You just need to be aware something's going on here. So-and-so who used to talk to me every day is not talking to me anymore. Why is that? You've just got to be more aware of what's going on at work. You've also potentially, if it's one of those employers that's a usual suspect when it comes to terminating people, you've also got to watch your back when it comes to your job. So, they will do things to try to set up grounds for misconduct for termination, because if they can do that when somebody's been hurt and they're working light duty, and they can prove that they fired that person for misconduct, they can avoid paying workers' comp benefits after that person goes out of work. So that's that light duty job situation that you got to really, really be careful about. I've seen every trick in the book as far as how they do these things. One of the more common ones, just for an example, is this sort of course of conduct where the person's not having a good day, they're feeling really bad, and the boss says, that's okay, you just stay home, don't worry about it, we'll see you tomorrow. And that happens 3 or 4 or 5 or 6 times, but they don't go back to the doctor and get a note for that half a day that they went home early, or the day they came in late because they woke up and were in awful pain. And the supervisor's been telling them it's not a big deal, and then the next thing they know, they're being written up for no call, no show, and no doctor's note, contrary to a company policy, because they didn't follow procedure. And they come to me and say, well, the boss said it was okay. Well, now the boss doesn't remember any of those conversations, and then you're in trouble. So you just have to go by the book. You have to be careful. If you're not sure that you're going by the book, sometimes we have to, on behalf of our clients, insist on getting the book. In other words, where's the employee handbook? What is my client supposed to be doing? We don't want to get them in jeopardy of losing their job for an alleged misconduct. There are a lot of other ways that it happens. It does happen. And if you're in one of those situations, it's better to come in and talk to me before you get fired than after. If it's after, I'll still do what I can to help, but if it's before, we're in a better position to fix it, to try to avoid a termination for misconduct allegation than if you've already come in, if you've already been fired and they've already made that allegation. By the time you get in the door, we still might be able to prove that it was a bunch of nonsense and that it was not a valid basis for misconduct, but it's a tougher case then. It's just, it just puts you in a bad situation because you've lost your job, and you also don't have workers' comp benefits being reinstated voluntarily, making us go to court to get those benefits. If you have any questions about your case, if you feel like you may need help with your workers' comp claim, give us a call at Dodge Jones. I'm happy to sit down and talk with you and let you know what I can do to help.